The grand chamber of the Zephright Supreme. Council gleamed with the light of 1,000 ceremonial candles. Ambassador Krell stood at the center, his forearms raised high, his voice echoing through the vast hall. Around him, the holographic projectors hummed to life, preparing to broadcast the most important message in Zephright history. Today, Krell's began, his voice steady with practiced authority. We declare war upon the species known as humanity. The other council members nodded solemnly. They had debated this for months. The humans had crossed into Zephright territory. They had established colonies. On worlds the Zephrites had claimed 3,000. Years ago, they had ignored every warning, every diplomatic message, every carefully worded threat. The recording began. Krellix read from the ancient texts, invoking the names of Zephright gods and heroes. He listed humanity's crimes in the traditional manner, taking care to emphasize each violation of galactic law. The speech took 2 hours. It had been written by the finest poets and scholars in the Empire. Every word carried weight. Every phrase had been carefully chosen to strike fear into the hearts of their enemies. When the recording finished, they transmitted it across all known communication channels. 3,000 languages. Every human colony would receive it. Every human ship, every human station. The message was clear and unmistakable. The Zephright Empire, oldest and most powerful civilization in the known galaxy, had declared war. Krells felt satisfied. Soon, the humans would respond. They would beg for mercy. They would offer tribute. They would withdraw from Zephright space and accept their place as a lesser species. This was how it always went. The Zephrites had fought 17 wars in their long history. They had won 17 wars. The first response came 3 days later. Krells hurried to the communication center, his heart's beating fast with anticipation. Finally, the humans would show proper respect. Finally, they would understand their mistake. The message was short. Very short. Thank you for your message. The Galactic Relations Office is currently closed for the weekend. Our business hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Earth Standard Time. Someone will respond to your inquiry within 3 to 5 business days. For urgent matters, please press 1. For colony permits, please press 2. For Krellix stared at the screen. It was an automatic reply, a recording. The humans had not even bothered to listen to their declaration of war. They had simply filed it away like some minor administrative matter. Perhaps they did not understand, suggested Council Member Theo Dunn. Perhaps their translation was faulty. We sent it in 3,000 languages, Krellix replied, his voice tight, including their own. Then perhaps this is some strange human custom, offered another council member. A negotiating tactic. They wish to appear unconcerned. Krellix considered this. Yes, that must be it. The humans were trying to seem brave. They were hiding their fear behind bureaucratic procedures. This was actually quite clever in a primitive sort of way. We proceed as planned, Krellix announced. The Warfleet launches tomorrow. The Zephright Warfleet was magnificent. 200 ships, each one a masterpiece of engineering and art. The flagship alone carried 10,000 warriors. Admiral Vexther commanded from the bridge, his ceremonial armor polished to perfection. This would be glorious. This would be remembered for generations. As the fleet departed, another message arrived from humanity. Krellix opened it immediately, expecting surrender terms, or at least some sign of panic. Dear Zephright Empire, the message read, we acknowledge receipt of your declaration of war dated standard calendar, 224,795. This matter has been forwarded to the appropriate department. Is there anything else we can help you with today? Please rate your customer service experience by clicking the link below. Krells felt his secondary stomach's twist. This was not normal. This was not how species behaved when faced with annihilation. Should we send another message? Asked his aide, a young diplomat named Krellix. No, Krell said slowly. We wait. Once our fleet arrives at their borders and begins the attack, they will understand. They will have no choice but to understand. 3 weeks passed. The Zephright fleet moved through space at maximum speed. They would reach human territory in another 2 months. Krell spent his days monitoring human communications, waiting for signs of fear, of military mobilization, of anything that showed they took the threat seriously. Human news broadcasts were baffling. They mentioned the war declaration, once briefly on a program, called News at 6. The anchor, a female human with an oddly cheerful expression, spent 15 seconds on it. The Zephright Empire has declared war on humanity, she said, smiling at the camera. In other news, celebrity couple Brad Morrison and Jennifer Cole have announced their engagement. We'll have exclusive details after the break. 15 seconds. They had given the most important event in recent galactic history 15 seconds, sandwiched between weather reports and entertainment gossip. Krells watched in disbelief as human society continued exactly as before. Their ships moved along trade routes without any apparent concern. Their colonies continued construction projects. Their military forces remained scattered across their territory, conducting routine patrols. Perhaps they are in shock, suggested Theodin. Perhaps they cannot comprehend what is happening. But that did not explain the message that arrived. 6 weeks after the declaration, it came from Earth's diplomatic office just as promised. 3 to 5 business days. They had said it had taken 6 weeks. Dear Ambassador Krells, the message began. Thank you for your declaration of war. We have reviewed your concerns regarding territorial boundaries and unauthorized expansion. Please note that the sectors in question were classified as unclaimed under the Galactic Charter of 2145. However, we understand there may have been a miscommunication. Would you like to schedule a meeting to discuss this matter? Our next available appointment is in 8 months. Please let us know if this time works for you. 8 months. They wanted to schedule a diplomatic meeting in 8 months, while a war fleet was bearing down on their territory. Krellex began to feel something he had not felt in many years. Doubt. Not doubt about Zephyrite's superiority. Not doubt about their military might, but doubt about whether the humans actually understood what was happening. Perhaps, Krell said quietly, perhaps humans are simply very, very stupid. Krells wanted to believe that it would make sense, but something in the casual tone of their messages, in the complete lack of concern, suggested something else. Something he could not quite identify. The war fleet continued its journey. Admiral Vex sent daily reports. Everything was proceeding perfectly. The warriors were ready. The weapons were primed. Soon they would engage the human forces and teach them the price of disrespecting the Zephright Empire. Krells tried to feel confident, but late at night in his private chambers, he found himself watching human broadcasts again, looking for something, some sign that they understood. Some hint of fear, he found none. The humans went about their lives as if nothing was happening, as if the greatest military force in the galaxy was not heading toward them with the intent to conquer. It made no sense. It defied all logic, all military theory, all diplomatic precedent. And deep in his hearts, Krellex began to wonder if perhaps the Zephrites had made a terrible mistake. Captain Maria Santos checked her cargo manifest for the 3rd time that morning. 200 tons of mining equipment, 50 atmospheric processors, and one very expensive piece of surveying gear that someone had marked as fragile. She hated fragile cargo. It always meant extra paperwork if something broke. Her ship, the Profitable Venture, was a standard human freighter, nothing fancy. It had decent engines, adequate shields, and enough weapons to scare off pirates if they were having a bad day. Maria had been running cargo between colonies for 12 years now. It was boring work mostly, but it paid well enough. Captain, her co-pilot Jake, called from the bridge. Did you see the news thing? Which news thing? Maria was busy securing the atmospheric processors. They had a tendency to shift during jump if you did not strap them down properly. About the war. Maria paused. What war? Some alien empire declared war on us. The ZE something. Zephyr writes, I think. Huh? Maria went back to checking the cargo straps. When did this happen? Like 6 weeks ago, apparently. 6 weeks? Maria laughed. And we are just hearing about it now. Jake shrugged even though she could not see him from the cargo bay. I guess it wasn't important enough for the news feeds. I only saw it because my mom sent me an article. She thought it was interesting. Maria finished with the processors and headed back to the bridge. Jake had the article pulled up on the main screen. She read it quickly. Some empire spanning 47 star systems. Claims about territorial violations. Formal declaration of war with all the traditional ceremonies. Well, Maria said, settling into her captain's chair. That's weird. Should we be worried? Maria considered this. She pulled up a star map and located Zephright space. It was pretty far away. Their current route took them nowhere near it. Probably not. I mean, if it was serious, would have gotten a message from command, right? Change of routes, security alerts, something. Yeah, that makes sense. Jake looked relieved. So, we just keep doing our normal run, unless someone tells us different. Maria started the pre-flight sequence. They were scheduled to leave in 20 minutes. Besides, even if they did want to cause trouble, it would take them forever to get here. Space is big. Really big, Jake agreed, quoting from some old book they both remembered from school. The profitable venture departed on schedule. Maria had a delivery deadline to meet on New Coventry, one of the mining colonies on the frontier. The colony supervisor there was a stickler for punctuality. Late deliveries meant late fees, and late fees meant Maria's bonus got cut. 3 days into the journey, Maria got a message from her sister Rachel, who worked at a military listening post near Jupiter. Hey sis, the message began. Rachel always looked tired in her videos. Night shifts did that to people. Mom is freaking out about this war thing. Can you tell her it's nothing? She keeps calling me asking if I'm safe. Maria sent back a quick reply. Tell Mom the war is like 3 months away from even getting close to human space. If that the military probably forgot about it already. Love you. That was true enough. Maria had checked the official channels. There was a single notice about the Zephright Declaration, buried in the military briefings. Status acknowledged. Response pending diplomatic review. Threat level low. It was right there between a notice about updated uniform regulations and a reminder about the annual physical fitness tests. New Coventry appeared on their sensors exactly on schedule. The colony sat on a mineral-rich world that looked like a big brown rock from space. 3,000 miners lived there, pulling rare metals out of the ground and shipping them back to Earth. It was hard work, dangerous sometimes, but the pay was incredible. Maria brought the profitable venture into orbit and hailed the colony. Profitable venture. This is New Coventry Control. A board voice responded. You're cleared for landing at Base 7. Try not to scratch the paint this time. That was one time, Maria muttered. And it was barely a scratch, Jake grinned. It was a pretty big scratch, Captain. They landed smoothly. The mining equipment was unloaded by local workers who looked like they had just finished a long shift. Maria handed over the paperwork to the colony supervisor, a grumpy man named Peterson, who inspected every item like he expected to find something wrong. Heard about the war, Peterson said while checking the atmospheric processes. Yeah, Maria was only half listening. She was watching the workers unload the surveying equipment. Fragile, remember? Bunch of nonsense, if you ask me. These aliens think they can just roll in here and tell us what to do. Peterson snorted. Let them try. We've got work to do. That seemed to be the general attitude. Maria talked to a few other people while waiting for her return cargo. Nobody seemed particularly concerned. A few people joked about it. One miner said he hoped the aliens would hurry up so they could get it over with before football season started. The return trip was uneventful. Maria delivered her cargo, filed her reports, and took a few days off. She spent most of that time sleeping and catching up on her favorite shows. About 2 months after the initial declaration, Maria noticed military ships moving around more than usual. Not a lot more, just enough to be noticeable. A few extra patrols, some supply runs to the outer colonies. Is this because of the war thing? Jake asked when they saw a cruiser pass by on their next run. Maybe. Maria checked the fleet movements on her authorized channels. She had low level clearance from her time in the Navy. The military was doing something, but it did not look like much. Standard defensive positions, routine readiness checks. Nothing that suggested panic or emergency preparations. She did notice one thing, though. A lot of the really big ships, the dreadnoughts and carriers, were not moving towards Zephright space. They were moving away from it, toward the far edge of human territory, toward the galactic rim. That was odd. But Maria figured it was not her business. She hauled cargo. The Navy did Navy things. Everyone had their job. 3 months after the declaration, a message went out to all civilian ships. Maria read it while having breakfast. Attention all vessels. Be advised that hostile forces may be present in sectors 447 through 451. Recommend alternate routes where possible. This is a low priority advisory. Maintain standard protocol sectors 447 through 451. That was near New Coventry. Maria checked her schedule. She had a delivery to New Coventry next week. She sent a message to control. Do I need to postpone the New Coventry run? The reply came back in an hour. Negative. Proceed as scheduled. Local defenses are adequate local defenses. Maria knew what that meant. New Coventry had maybe 6 orbital platforms and a handful of patrol ships. Nothing special. She mentioned this to Jake. Should we be worried? He asked. Maria thought about it. The military said proceed as scheduled. They would not send civilians into actual danger probably. Nah, they've got it covered. If you say so, Captain. Maria did say so, and she believed it mostly. The thing was, if the military thought the Zephrites were a real threat, there would be a lot more activity. Cancelled leave, emergency drills, fleet mobilizations, the whole 9 yards. Instead, everything felt normal. Routine, like the war was just another item on a very long list of things happening. In a very big galaxy. The profitable venture headed toward New Coventry, right on schedule. Maria had equipment to deliver and a bonus to earn. War or no war, bills did not pay themselves. Somewhere out in the dark, the Zephright fleet was getting closer. But space was big, really big, and Maria Santos had cargo to haul. Commander Jothic stood on the bridge of the Zate flagship Glory of Ages and watched the human colony grow larger on the viewscreen. New Coventry, they called it, a mining world, according to their intelligence. Population around 50,000. Minimal defenses. This would be their first conquest, the beginning of the campaign. Soon the humans would understand what it meant to face the Zephright Empire. All ships battle formation. Admiral Vexther commanded. His voice rang with confidence. 200 ships moved into position with practiced precision. It was beautiful, terrifying, overwhelming. Commander, the sensor officer reported. We are detecting 6 orbital defense platforms and 3 patrol ships. Jothic frowned. Only 3 patrol ships? Are you certain? Yes, Commander. They appear to be standard patrol craft. Nothing larger. This was suspicious. Where was the main defense fleet? Where were the reinforcements? The humans must have known they were coming. They'd had months to prepare. Perhaps they fled, suggested the sensor officer. Or perhaps it's a trap, Jake countered. He'd studied human tactics during the journey. They were an unpredictable species, aggressive, reckless. They might have hidden their forces somehow. Begin scanning for cloaked vessels, Admiral Vexthed. And someone hail those patrol ships. Give them a chance to surrender before we destroy them. The communications officer opened a channel. Attention, human vessels. This is the Zephright Imperial Fleet. You are ordered to surrender, immediately or face destruction. The reply came quickly. Too quickly. The humans did not sound afraid at all. Yeah, we got your message. Hold on a second. There was a pause. Jothic could hear voices in the background talking casually. Hey, Marcus. What's the protocol for this? Is it Form 27B or 28B? How should I know? Check the manual. The manual is like 3,000 pages long, man. Just tell them we are not surrendering. That seems pretty standard. The human came back on the channel. Sorry about that. We are not surrendering. Also, you're in violation of colonial airspace regulations. You need to file for proper clearance before entering orbit. Jake stared at the communications officer. The communications officer stared back, equally confused. Did they just cite airspace regulations? Jothic asked. I believe so, Commander. Admiral Vexther's expression hardened. Destroy them. The Zephright fleet opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space bright and deadly. The first orbital platform exploded in a satisfying burst of debris. Then the second. The third took a few more hits, but eventually succumbed. The human patrol ships dodged and weaved surprisingly nimble. They returned fire with their own weapons. Not particularly powerful weapons, but accurate. One of the Zephright cruisers took damage to its port shields. All ships concentrate fire on the patrol vessels. Vexor commanded. 3 Zephright cruisers surrounded one human patrol ship. It was a small vessel, maybe a tenth their size. It fired at them continuously, hitting with annoying precision. But its weapons could not penetrate their shields. They fight well for primitives, Jake admitted. Then something strange happened. The human ship broadcast a message. Oh, come on. I'm missing the game for this. The game? What game? Another human voice responded. Stop complaining and focus. We need to hold them off until the civilians evacuate. The game is tied. It's the championship. Do you know how long I've waited? The transmission cut off as another Zephright cruiser joined the attack. The human ship's shields finally failed. It tried to retreat, limping away, trailing sparks. But a final barrage caught it amidships. The vessel went dark and began to drift. 2 patrol ships down, 1 remaining. It was fighting 3 Zephright cruisers at once, somehow managing to avoid most of their fire. How is it doing that? Jardy wondered aloud. The human ship's pilot was incredibly skilled, dancing between energy beams that should have obliterated it. Probably lucky. The weapons officer suggested. But it was not luck, Jothic could tell. The human pilot knew exactly what they were doing. Every move was calculated precise. They were not trying to win. They were trying to survive.